Hi again everyone, welcome back to a new tutorial. This week I'm going to be focusing on some nice reflections, and I'm going to paint a fisherman standing in a river, close up, fishing away, and we're going to be fishing on some reflections and some nice soft colours in the landscape. So that's the theme for this week. It's just something I kind of wanted to try. It's a nice subtle kind of a painting. Nice soft colours, nice warm colours. Just to show you a little bit about reflections and painting reflections. Mixing colours, complementary colours, that type of thing. So we're going to focus on that this week. Now I'm going to swing the camera around and show you what I have set up here in my kitchen again. So let's swing it around and take a look, guys. Now, here we are. This is the photograph that I want to paint today. Don't know if you can see that very well, but it's just a nice example of some reflections on a river. So I'm going to just try that today, just as the tutorial. I'll put it on your screen for you in a minute. I have some turpentine, no linseed oil, just a drop of turpentine. Now that's a little milky because there's a little bit of paint in there already previously, so it's just got a little milky, but that's fine. Tissue, I have some brushes. I have a new blender brush here, a lovely new powder brush, ready for painting. Look at that, isn't that lovely? And I have, I have a mixture of different types of synthetic brushes. Again, these small stubby brushes I pick up in the local craft store. They're cheap. They're not very expensive. I have a couple of long handle ones as well. But in general, I tend to stick with synthetic brushes. They're lovely and soft. So that's my selection of brushes. I just threw a few in there, just to give me a good selection. I have a 20 by 8 canvas, a nice wide canvas for this. That'll look quite well when it's framed, I reckon. And colours. So I have a tearaway palette here now, guys. These are very, very handy palettes. Let me just sit down now and show you these. Now, we have cadmium yellow pale hue. I have Naples yellow. What's this? We have a little touch of burnt sienna, just for a couple of warm browns. I have some lamp black. I have some burnt umber. I have some magenta, and I have some cobalt blue. They're the colours. I might introduce some phaylo blue into this later, I'm not too sure yet. It tends to be a bit strong. And titanium white. So they are the colours we're going to use today. We may not use all of them, but I just put a nice selection of warm colours on the palette, so we can mix and match with different shades and hues and highlights and lowlights, and mess around, have a bit of fun. Have a bit of fun with this one, guys. So that's basically it. That's the subject for this week. I have my little stand here. That'll hook on there, and we get a nice angle of the palette with the painting at the same time, yes? So I'm hoping to achieve something like this. That's what the angle will look like. So that's it, guys. A nice loose painting this week. Bit of fun with this one. Nice bit of colour. Nice soft subtle shades. Some nice blending and mixing. So just to get you used to working with the oils and blending the colours together on the canvas, and creating a nice soft misty kind of parts in the landscape. That makes sense. So that's what we'll try. I hope you like it, guys. I'm going to hook this on here and let's give this a shot. Once again, thank you very, very much for your support. All your lovely comments, criticisms, suggestions, requests, everything. Thank you for your support on Patreon again. And I really, really appreciate everything that you're doing, guys. All the likes, all the shares, share all these videos to everyone you know. Let's get as many subscribers as we can. All right. So let's have a bit of fun, guys. Don't go anywhere. Right, guys. Okay, here we go. I'm going to put the picture up on your screen so you can see it there. Lovely scene of a guy fishing in a river. And it's just nice and simple, but there are some lovely reflections there, and I want to try and capture those reflections. And some lovely hills off in the distance. I might just suggest some of those. Again, we can use our artistic license and change one or two small things. Let's just try and keep it simple. So I'm going to keep it nice and simple. So I'm going to start off with drawing the riverbank here. So I'm going to come up around here, and it sort of comes along, don't it, over towards this section here. So it comes around here, and then we have a kind of a bank that comes around like that, don't we? A big bank like that. And we have some trees up here. Kind of goes off into we have a dark side of the tree, then this is very dark here, it's in shadow. And we have another one that comes up around like that. And the river bank is going to come across like this. And it's going to kind of a tree here. I just kind of been very loose with this now, okay? Just very suggestive. And lovely big reeds all along here. And they're lovely. And they have a lovely contrasting colour. They have a kind of almost a pinky kind of a shade against the blue. And that's very nice. And that's what kind of caught my eye, really. That would really stand out, and it would really complement each other as well. So I'm going to go with my green brush again. The same brush that I use in every painting. My little green stubby brush. And this is great when it gets worn out, because you can do a lot of different things with these brushes when they're worn. When it's brand new, it just looks like this. It's just a regular flat synthetic brush. Nothing special. Nice cheap brush. But when they start getting worn, then you see they end up like this. And you see the way the bristles sort of splay outwards. That's what you want for painting trees. Trees and bushes, that type of thing. So it's excellent for that. So I'm just going to use this one today. I'm going to start off with a very subtle cool grey now just on top here. So I'm going to dip into my turpentine, just dampen the brush and dab it on the tissue. Okay, all I did was just dab this loosely on the tissue to take off most of the moisture on that. It's a little wet, you see it? Okay, it's probably even too wet still. I'll give it another dab. Now, let's go into some white. Let's take a touch of blue. And I find when I'm teaching people, when I'm giving lessons, because I do lessons, I do kind of tutorials, lessons in my local centre, community centre as well, every now and again. I find the most difficult part for people to get the hang of is the consistency of the paint. A lot of people struggle with that. Just getting that right can be a challenge, and I know it's quite difficult. So I am trying to explain as best I can the consistency that we have. It's like a cream, that's all I can say. It's like a cream out of a tub. It's not too dry, but then again, it's not very wet either. It's not like watercolours, but it's not very, very thick. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. And I just wanted to sort of flow off of the brush nicely. Now that for me is a little watery still. That's a little watery, so I'm going to pull some white into that, because white will thicken it. White will thicken it slightly. Now I've just taken a touch of black there, just to darken that down very, very slightly. And I'm just going to go across the top here with this. I'm going to put that in. And what I do then when I'm doing this, okay, because I'm working wet into wet, it's quite wet here now at the minute. So what I'll do then is I'll take a little white just on my brush, okay, just like that, and I will blend that in then, and it thickens the paint on the canvas. You see? It thickens the mixture. And then I'm going to dry my brush with my tissue. I'm just going to get all that paint off. And I am going to take a touch of blue. Put a touch of blue into that mix. And just up along the top. It's kind of a very pale grey here and there. So I'm going to take a little black and a bit of blue. And I'm just going to start introducing some of that here and there. and I just want to create some nice mist up on those hills. And I'm just going to take my time with this one today. It's going to be a nice soft landscape, nice peaceful landscape, nothing too drastic, nothing too complicated, and we're going to do a lot of work now practicing our techniques today. So this is one now, guys, that you'll want to watch. You'll get some nice tips on this one. I'm going to soften that with this brush, and you see how that makes it lovely and soft. So next I'm going to do the mountains. This is our land, so I'm going to put this brush away now, and I'm going to pick up another one. And this is a size 6. You see, they're very cheap brushes. It's just create. Nice cheap brushes. Nothing fancy about that. But they are very, very well made. Even though they're kind of a budget brush, I find that these brushes will actually outlast some of the more expensive brushes. The ferrules are very strong. It's made with good quality metal. It's really crimped very tight, so it doesn't tend to come loose. I find with a lot of the more expensive brushes that I use, in the past I've kind of used the more expensive ones, and I've found they got loose very easily, and the bristles weren't great quality. And I find these good quality. They stay soft for very, very long. So I like using these brushes. Now I'm going to go up here and get some hill in here. I'm going to start using magenta for this. Now I've used a dry brush. In fact, I might dampen it just slightly. I'm going to take some magenta, and I'm going to take some white. Plenty of white now, make this nice, like a thick cream. And I'm going to take a touch of turpentine just on the corner of my brush, just to make it a little wet. Then I'm going to take some cobalt, a tiny, tiny bit of cobalt. And I'm mixing very subtle colours here now. Very, very subtle. And I'm just going to mix that together well. And I'm going to go up here and let's take a look at this. I'm thinking maybe a little bit darker. So a little bit more blue. And maybe, let me just look now. You kind of try different things here. Maybe a touch of black into it. Let's take a touch of lamp black and let's see what happens. So I'm kind of messing around now with the mix in this. And let's just put a loose suggestion of some hills up there. Okay. And this is nice and enjoyable. Now you'd enjoy painting this kind of a scene. It's a nice kind of relaxing type of a scene to paint. And I'm going to add a touch of black into that with more magenta. And I'm going to darken it just along the bottom of the hill. Now I'm not going down into the trees. You could, if you wanted to, just paint over everything right down to the horizon line and put the trees in later. But I want to get these nice and bright, so I'm just going to leave them for now. And we'll do some blocking in with those then in a minute, guys. Okay? So I'm just going to drag this colour now right across and soften it up. And the beauty with these oils is you can soften all these colours together, you see? And they mix on the canvas to create different colours. Doesn't that look nice? I'm going to continue right across. And I'm going to lighten it slightly. It's getting slightly lighter, so I'm going to add more white. And I'm going to add more blue as well. There we go. And I am not copying these hills exactly. I'm just doing a very loose impression of what's on the photograph, okay? It's just a tutorial. I don't want to be completely accurate with this. There we go. And just scrub away now, fill that in. And I might pick up some white and make it nice and pale just here. And it's almost going to disappear into the sky. Right, now what I'm going to do is just dip my brush in my turpentine, wipe it on the tissue to take some of that paint off. So my brush is not spotless, but most of what was on that is gone. I'm going to take some white, and I'm going to perhaps take a touch of magenta, the slightest touch, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to introduce some lights around here. There we are. And I'm going to clean my brush and go back into it again. So you can see now it's getting nice and soft, nice and light off in the distance. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that brush down. I'm going to pick up my soft brush and I'm just giving it a wipe on my tissue now just to take the colour off from the sky. There we go. Soft brush, guys. And I'm going to very gently start softening this in because on the photograph it's really very soft. There's no detail on these hills at all. So I'm just going to pull it down and I'm almost pulling the sky down into the hill. You see? And here we go, just nice and soft. And I'm only touching this now as if I have a feather in my hand. It's really very, very soft. And you can see it's kind of softening in some parts, in other parts it's just disappearing into the sky. And let's pull these brush strokes down, get them nice and soft. So I'm pulling the brush now down in the direction of the hill. So the hill is falling at a slight angle like this, and that will give you the impression of the land coming down. You see? If I were to go right across like this, it would just smoothen out completely. There we are. And that's not bad. A nice kind of a misty sort of a sky. I could create a little bit of mist just probably around here somewhere. So let's pull some of the sky down into it. Very gently. See, there we go. Nice and soft. So what I want to do next, guys, is just darken a little bit just here, because I want the light colour behind to really, or the light colour in front of it to really stand out later. So I'm going to take some cadmium, red, magenta and some blue. And I want to keep this a little on the reddy side, because I want to complement colours later. So you can see it's kind of a pink. It's a kind of a pink I'm putting into it. I might add a touch of brown even. A touch of burnt umber into that. There we go. And soften that off into those hills. Okay. I'll take a bit of burnt umber and some black. And nice and dark just at the bottom here. There we go. Nice and soft. And that's a nice contrast now, isn't it? So I'm going to leave that. That's pretty much the hills finished in the distance. So I'm just going to leave that for now, guys. Next, I'm going to start filling in some of these trees here. So now they're quite green, they're kind of a pale green with some shadow. So I'm just going to mix some green for this. Some yellow. Let's take a bit of cadmium yellow and let's take some cobalt blue. And let's take a bit of black into that. And they're quite earthy now, so I'm going to add some brown. Burnt umber will always make a green kind of earthy. So let's just go in here now and fill in some of the shadowy areas on these. Very, very loosely. Let's take a bit more black actually. Let's make that nice and rich, dark, right in there. Touch of blue. So I'm kind of adding colours to this, you see, as I go. Does that make sense? This is bright here. We have a dark section here. So I'm just blocking in some shapes now, just getting some rough outlines of some shapes. That's all I'm doing. We have some dark ones at the back over there behind these, kind of cropping up. So I'm just going to suggest some of those. Like this, see? And you can fade them into the hills if you want. It's completely up to yourself. And let's make them a little bit darker, just a touch. There we are. We have this area here. There's a little bit of dark just here and there and that. I might take a touch of burnt sienna in that, and I'm going to lighten it then slightly with some Naples yellow. And that's a nice kind of an earthy colour as well. So this is sort of a mid-range kind of a colour now for this tree area here. I will brighten it and I will darken it, but I'm just filling in sort of the, let's call it the mid-tone of these. So I'm not going too crazy just yet. I'm going to take some Naples yellow with some cadmium yellow and just suggest this bush here, the light of that bush. Okay, and just dab very gently into the dark. You see? And this is all just blocking in now, guys. I will come back to this later and put highlights onto it. There we go. Might put a few highlights just on this bush here. There we are. And some highlights on this. So Naples yellow, cadmium yellow. And I will go brighter than this again, don't worry. This is just like the beginning of the highlights. And let's go along here and lighten that slightly as well. We can take some cadmium yellow pale with some white and go really in and lighten these here, see? So all the time now we're increasing our highlights. We have a couple just down here, don't we? And let's add a touch of burnt sienna to this. Warm it slightly. And I'm going to go across here then. And we have a couple. Notice how I'm turning the brush to create the shape of this bush. Okay, that's all I'm doing. And let me see. So we're going along nicely. I'm taking my time. I'm in no hurry. There's no rush with this painting. If I have to do it in 2 parts, I'll do it in 2 parts. But I just want to take my time and do it nice. I don't want to be rushing. So let's see now. We have a little dark riverbank down here. Let's put that in, yes? Some blue and some black. Touch of yellow. And come down here and put this in. Just wiggle the brush along. And let's come along this bank here. You see, I'm not painting anything in particular. I'm just suggesting to the people looking at the painting that it's a riverbank in the distance, if that makes sense. You see, what we will do then is we'll take our fan brush and let me see now. Have I a fan brush with me? Oh, I do. Aha! Here we have a lovely new fan brush. This is a better quality one. Graduate Dialer Roni. So let's try this. Let's take a bit of this and I'm going to dampen it slightly. And then I'm going to go in, take some white, tiny bit of white, tiny bit of that yellow, and I'm going to go along the top of that dark that we just painted and put a couple of dabs of this along. Just here and there, and flick it up, create a little bit of grass. See? Just like that. Isn't that nice? We could use the fan brush to create some lights on the tree. So there's lots of different ways of doing bushes and trees and that type of thing, okay? It's just really about, I think, experimenting and trying different brushes and seeing what happens. Because that's what painting is about, isn't it? Trying different things. Oh, there we are. And I'm just going to blend it slightly. I don't want it too harsh. I want to keep it slightly kind of distant. Now I will cool that colour down slightly because it's a little warm for me personally. I'm going to take a bit of cobalt blue and mix it in here and create a kind of a dirtyish, greeny kind of a blue. I'm just going to cool this down slightly. Okay, does that make a little sense? And I'll stick a little bit in here. And it's only a very, very subtle change now, but it is there, you can see it. That'll do for now, okay? We leave that because we don't want to be doodling too much. We have next a lovely tree coming up here. I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to take a normal round old brush. Any round brush that you have at all. You can use a thinner one if you like. I'm going to take some burnt umber. And I'm going to take some cadmium yellow, believe it or not. It's going to be a browny green. And I'm going to mix those together nice and thick. And let's go right up here with a nice thick tree trunk. And then it disappears up into the tree, doesn't it? Nice simple tree trunk there. And then I'm going to introduce some cool shadows into this. So I'm going to take some cobalt blue with some magenta. And I'm going to put some of that just on the left hand side here because that's the side which is in shadow, isn't it? There we are. Nice cool shadow. Now you probably can't see it very well on the camera, but I can see it here. I might just add a touch of white into that just to lighten it. There you see. And then with my small pointy brush, let's put some lights in. Small detail brush, and I'm going to go in with some cadmium yellow, burnt sienna, and we want more yellow in this than sienna, and just those two colours on their own, nice and thick on the tip of the brush, and just put a couple of flicks down here and there. See? And then take some of that whiter yellow for the very edge. See, that'll give us a nice contrast now, won't it? And that's a nice little tree off in the distance with some really strong sunlight catching it. I'm just going to dull that down very gently there because it's a little bright. There, that's better. Isn't that better? So you're getting the feeling now of how I work with a painting, you see. I just go along and I just do little sections at a time, little sections, just try different things with the brush. And that's generally how I kind of work with landscapes. So I think the next stage is this foliage. You could use a fan brush for that, But I think I might try something different this time. I'm just going to use the normal little flat brush for this. I'm going to dampen it very slightly, and I'm going to mix a dark green for this, for the shadow. So we're going to put in the shadow first. So take some cadmium yellow, pale, and some lamp black, and it's warm, so let's take a touch of burnt umber. And it's amazing how black and yellow make a lovely green, isn't it? And I'm just going to start putting that on just here and there, and I'm going to form the shape of the tree with this, you see. And there's not much light showing through on this now, guys. Looking at the picture, there's not a whole lot of light showing through. A couple of little flicks here and there. Okay, just like so. As it comes around to the light side, I'm going to start introducing some burnt sienna with perhaps a touch of naples. Okay, you see? And let's start introducing some yellow. And this kind of comes around like this, doesn't it? And I'm just kind of dabbing now here and there, that's all. It does get quite warm here and there. And I'm going to go a little bit darker with this. I'm going to take some cobalt blue, magenta, and some black. And there's a nice kind of a dark area just in here. In fact, I might take some more cobalt for that. And that'll kind of cool it slightly. So I'll leave that, and then what I'm going to do is, I'm just going to give that brush a quick clean. Then I'm going to start hitting this with some kind of fine highlights. And for that, we can use a lot of different brushes. We could use little pointy brushes. I think the fan brush might be the easiest solution for this. You know, we can play around and try different things. Let's take some cadmium yellow with some of that burnt umber and some white, and let's just suggest some highlights here and there. We have a kind of a branch that curves around like that. And this is nice, fun kind of work to do now, guys. This is really enjoyable. More yellow, and we have some around this side here. So nice warm highlights. Couple coming around here like that. And again, it's only just a suggestion or an impression even. That'll do, you see? That'll do fine. It doesn't have to be exactly the same. I know there's another tree in behind there as well, but look, you don't have to put in every detail. I will take a little pointy brush and put a little flick of cadmium yellow. Just here and there perhaps. No. And that'll do fine. So I think next now, guys, we should move along and get all this in. Wouldn't that be nice? And then all we have to do is our reflection and the fisherman in the next part. I think that would be that'd be a nice thing to start off. Now we can actually put some highlights on these here. Okay, I just noticed them. I will put a few highlights on them. I'll take another dry brush, a little flat synthetic brush, and I'm going to take some white, some magenta, just with those, and I'm going to just go along the edge very lightly. And there's some nice highlights. And soften them into the darks then, you see? There, done. Simple but effective. That's what we like, isn't it? So this section here, it's quite dark, isn't it? It's kind of, I'm going to go almost a mauve-y kind of a colour first. So I'm going to take this brush, give it a little wipe, a little bit of a clean, and I'm going to make up a kind of a greenish mauve now for this down here. So I'm going to take some burnt umber. Now let's just dampen it very slightly. Now burnt umber, some magenta, and then take a bit of cobalt blue, because it's quite cool, isn't it? Let's take a touch of white, and that'll help make it more opaque. And let's go down here now and just try this. And it's difficult now to see the colour on this, but yeah, it's kind of it's a very kind of a soft, cool browny kind of a mauve kind of a colour. And I'm just flicking it up for now, just for now. Okay. Now I'm going to take some cobalt blue and I make this very cool down here. So you can see now the cobalt blue is mixing with that brown and making it go slightly green, which is what I'm kind of trying to achieve. Let's have a look how we're doing. Next, I am going to move on to the fan brush. We could go with the fan brush next, guys. Let's give it a clean. And down in here I want to get very dark, so I'm just going to take some black with a little blue. And I'm just going to introduce some nice darks just down there. So there we go, just like that. And then clean that. And now let's mix some nice light colour for the top of that riverbank there. And the colour I'm going to use basically is Naples yellow and magenta. So Naples yellow, magenta over here. Let's mix this up. And some white. And let's see what kind of a colour that gives us. Ah, now isn't that nice? I like that. I might take a bit more yellow. Look at that. And that's exactly the colour I was looking for. So, I mean, it's just practice, guys. That's all it is. And notice how I'm turning this to form the direction of that riverbank there as well. You see? So I'm turning it down. And now all these colours are mixing together lovely, aren't they? Isn't that cool? So I love using this Naples yellow for this very reason. It's a nice warming colour. Isn't that nice? And you see, it doesn't look exactly like the photo, but look, it doesn't have to. As long as you're enjoying your painting, that's really all that matters, guys. That's all that matters. Now let's take some Naples yellow with some white, and just for the very tip of it there, it gets slightly brighter just here and there, doesn't it? But the sun is sort of hitting the top just here and there. And then I'm going to just soften it in certain parts, soften it in. See, we can go back over now and put some more darks in this as well. Yeah, I will darken it slightly. So we've went into our shadow just a little bit too much. So let's just go back over it. Let's take some burnt umber, some magenta, and let's take a bit of cobalt. And we can darken these again, you see? Let's take more of that brown. Let's warm it slightly over here. And that'll do for now. I'm then going to take my small brush, my very small pointy brush. Now the pointier the better. I have a new one here. Very, very pointy brush. See? And I am going to just put some highlights in here with some Naples yellow and some white, and perhaps a touch of cadmium yellow as well. So very rich, bright highlights. And look, I'm just going to put a few little dabs here and there of some reeds and little, you know, the tops of these little rushes and stuff like that. And you can wait till this is dry if you like, but I just like kind of working wet into wet sometimes. Isn't that nice? So this is quite a fun painting, isn't it? Lots of colour, lots of sunlight catching different areas. That's what you want in a painting, isn't it? Now, let's soften some of these in here. And we have some, let's get some little darks. Let's put a couple of flicks of darks in as well. And some nice darks down here, don't we? And also with this brush, let's suggest some lights around on these trees here. Okay. So I hope you're all enjoying this. Again, thank you all for supporting me on Patreon. It really does mean a lot. If you would like to support me, by the way, patreon.com/Stephen Conway Art. You can support me there. Everything helps. My goal is to try and get a decent camera. That's my number one goal, really, guys, for Patreon, is to try and get some decent equipment. That's the only reason I'm doing it, you know, just to try and help me with materials, because it can get quite expensive, as you well know, and it's difficult trying to get tutorials every week. So that's the reason I set up the page, just to help me with some bits and pieces, you know. Anything you can help me with, I'd be very grateful. Now let's see, I'm just going to darken it just here slightly. I'm only just kind of flicking the brush around, really. That's more or less what I'm doing. Nice and dark down here. And it's just all these little details are helping. So, let me see how we are looking with this. I might just put some burnt umber on the tree here. That brings that out a little bit better there. I might darken this shadow just a little bit there. I'm just kind of flicking the brush around, that's all. I'm just pushing some dark colour in there with the brush. That's really all I'm doing. Let me see. So we are looking quite good at the moment. There are some fence posts up here that I might like to put in. So I'm just going to take some burnt umber. Let's take a touch of blue. And I'm going to suggest one or two of these posts. We have one there. And a small one kind of cropping up over there, don't we? And then we put some lights on that. So let's take some Naples yellow with some of that white. Lovely white. And let's just hit that with some light. See? There we go. And soften them down with your finger into those reeds off in the distance. That's lovely, isn't it? We do have a tree here. Should we put that in, shouldn't we? I don't think so. I think it looks okay. Because we can balance the painting out then with this fisherman in the centre. Well, just slightly off centre here. So guys, we'll just finish this side here. And after that, we will do our reflections and we'll finish the painting. So again, I'm going to go back to this brush here. And I'm going to take some nice dark. So some burnt umber, some magenta, and some cobalt blue. And let's just flick that up right along that riverbank there. So I'm going from dark to light now with this. And then add in some Naples yellow with magenta. Okay, so it's getting slightly more pinky. And soften that into the black as well, that dark colour. Here and there. And then let's take, now we could still use this brush for the remainder of this bush, so let's give it a quick clean. Just take some of that dark colour off. And let's then take some Naples yellow with some magenta. Again, the very same as the other side. And let's just go in here and pull some of that down and form the top of that bush. See, I'm just pulling that around in different directions. It's just so easy. And then what you can do is with the fan brush, just go along the very top of that then with some lights. So some Naples yellow, touch of magenta again, and some of the white. And let's just go along and a couple little flicks here and there with that. There we go. And soften it off into the green then, you see, so it almost disappears, doesn't it? In the distance. And that'll do fine. That, guys, is a bush finished. Let's just put a bit of dark in underneath here with this pointy brush. There we go, and that kind of helps it sit down a little bit, doesn't it? You can see we have a beautiful contrast between these colours here, and these are lovely complementary colours. So, for example, the blues and kind of mauvey colours here are lovely with these bright pinky, peachy sort of colours here, little bits of yellow, so they really complement each other. And the same here, you see, you have the dark kind of a blacky, pinkish, blacky colour there with this light yellow, warm kind of a colour on top, so they complement each other as well, you see? So that's what I mean by complementing colours. Anything with blues and pinks and purples and oranges and yellows will always complement each other on a painting. So that's why I kind of noticed this one, it really stood out for me. So it's looking good so far, guys. All is looking good. You know, you can continue on doing more work on these later if you wish. We could warm some of these up maybe a little, you know, or we could leave them. It's up to ourselves. So we're going to start with the reflections here. Let's crack on. I'm going to clean my brush that I need, and there's a lot going on now in this reflection. There's a lot going on in this river, should we say. We have some nice warm tones from the tree here. We have some lovely kind of blues rippling through it here and there. Some nice kind of oranges, little bits of orange. So we have a lot of colour in this reflection. And I suppose the easiest way to do it is just to break it down into sections and think simple colours. So, for example, if I'm reflecting a tree, if I'm painting a reflection of a tree, I'm not trying to paint a tree in the reflection. I'm just pulling in the same colours from the tree in the reflection. I'm pulling it down and softening them in. That's all I'm doing. So I can see now by looking at that photograph, there's a lot of blue, blues and kind of pinks going along over here. So I might start off with a nice hill kind of a colour, maybe a nice light blue with a bit of a pink in it. I think we'll start off with that and we'll work it through. So let's take some white. Let's mix it here, yes? And let's take a little magenta. And let's take a little cobalt. Now I added some phaylo blue to my palette, just in case I want to get some really dark blues. Because you just never know, guys, do you? So let's try this. Let's put some of this in here now. And I'm only putting a little bit of it just here and there. So let's just sort of pull this through now. And don't worry if you pick up colours from the colours above. That's completely fine. That's what you want to happen. That's what makes it natural, you see? And that's a little on the thick side, so I'm going to just dampen my brush very slightly. I'm going to darken it slightly. I'm going to take some magenta, and I might try a little touch of black. And I might put some of that in. So you can see now, I'm just picking out colours that I can see on the photograph. That's all I'm doing. And we have a very kind of a rich blue then around the front here. I might try some cadmium red with this for a change. Just to change it up a little. Very kind of a rich blue coming into the painting just around here. So I'm going left to right now with this all of the time, you see? When you're painting water, everything is exactly from left to right. It's not up or down or sideways or at an angle, it's just left and right all the time. Okay, just try to remember that. I'm going to take some black. I'm going to darken it slightly. Soften it up like this. So you can see now how I'm kind of progressing through the painting. I'm adding colours as I see them. There is a tree, I know there's a lot of the big tree, the big dark area here on this side. So I'm going to put in a suggestion of that. And what I will do is I'll take some burnt umber, and it's getting quite thick, so I'm going to thin it slightly with some turpentine. So some burnt umber, some magenta, and let's take a little yellow, cadmium yellow into that. So I want kind of a muddy sort of a greeny colour, you see? And that's a nice muddy kind of a colour, isn't it? There we are. Let's take a bit more of that green from the palette and put that in. And you can see now all I'm doing, guys, is I'm just flicking left to right. That's really, that's all I'm doing. Flicking from left to right. And let's bring it right down here, all the way along, nice and thick. There we go. And I want to make it slightly darker because a reflection will always be slightly darker than what you are actually reflecting. So if it's a light green tree, it's going to be a slightly darker green in the water. Isn't that right? So I just want to darken it very slightly for that reason. And I'm going to put some dark blue then, just around, just here and there, like this. Okay. And I might even take a bit of black. Oh, there we go. So it's coming together already, isn't it? Now, I want to get in some of the lights here. There are some lovely lights over there, so I'm just going to switch brushes to keep it clean. And I'm going to go to a slightly smaller brush. So I'm going to dampen that. And I'm going to go into some magenta, some cadmium red. That's a nice colour, isn't it? Let's take a touch of burnt sienna. Because there's a very kind of a dark, rich colour going through that. I'm going to try and get that colour. Now, it's almost a pink. There's a hint of pink in it. So let's just have a look at this one. Yeah, we'll get away with that for now. We'll add to this. We can add more to it. Magenta and burnt umber. Let's try some of that. Okay, and soften it into the blue. And I'm going to go even darker again with that. I'm going to take some black, mix it into that with a touch of magenta. And I'm going to pull that across then into that warm colour. So we just keep kind of ploughing along now like this. We could even bring some of those dark colours out here into this blue as well. And then what I would like to do is, well, I was going to soften it, but we don't necessarily have to soften it right away. We can continue on over here now with this, and it's the same blue now on the other side of that tree. So I'm just going to clean that brush a little and take some of that nice blue that we mixed. Let's see, that's a bit dark, isn't it? God, that's a bit dirty. So my palette is getting quite dirty now, guys. I need to be careful. Let's go in there and pull some of that riverbank colour out with your brush. See, pull it out into the water. And let's take some magenta, a little white, because there's a lot of pink going on over on this side. And soften it then into that tree. Okay. So you can see now all the colours are kind of mixing together nicely on the canvas, and that's a nice way to work as well with oils. Just mixing all the colours as they go on the canvas. I love painting like that, I really do. So I'm going to along here now across the bank, and you see it does get quite dark then, doesn't it? So a very dark colour here. There we are, and I'm going to soften it in out to the riverbank, so because I don't want a very hard edge just along there. And I'm going to be switching to a nice pointy little brush then in a minute, a nice flat tipped brush. Let's see now how we're doing. So we have a lot of blue again around the front, don't we? There's a good bit of it there, isn't there? And that's the blue, I presume the blue reflecting from the sky above. Touch of pink into that. And just filling all this in now. So we have some basic colours now on the canvas, don't we? Next job is going to be soften these together with the fan brush or the blender brush. I do beg your pardon. Let's soften these together now with the blender brush. Very, very lightly. So I'm just going to go left and right now across these. And I'll start in the light to keep it light, nice and bright off in the distance there. Okay. Let's just soften them across left and right. I'll remember left and right. Just want to create a little bit of softness in the water. And I'm going to go on then and put some more over this. Now, that will suffice. Let's have a look now and see how we're doing. Okay, I'm going to get a nice flat brush. Something with a nice soft flat tip on it. And let me just take a look in my box here. I know I have one somewhere. Ah, there we go. So this is the one, guys. Nice and flat. And I'm going to take some cobalt blue. Now it's a dry brush, okay? Some cobalt blue with some white. And I'm going to go along, you know, perhaps a touch of magenta. Just a touch. So I have a nice rich colour. And I'm going to just put in some of these little, they have lovely blue kind of ripples coming across the water here and there, you see? Just here and there. And they're really gorgeous. They really kind of make the water sparkle, don't they? I might even make it a bit bluer. Yeah, let's go for a nice rich colour in this. Yeah, you see, that's coming on nice. I think I'll try some phaylo, guys. Let's try some phaylo. And you can immediately see the difference. Look how rich that is. Phaylo is just an ideal colour for this type of thing. And I'm just going to put a hint of that in here and there. I want this slightly on the pinkier side as well. I don't want it too blue because I don't want it turning green on the canvas. There's a little bit kind of showing over here. And we will get some knife work going as well quite soon. Let me see now, let's put some nice ripples in the water through here. And it's picking up the pink, so I'm just cleaning my brush. And I'm just going along, suggesting some nice lights here and there. You see? Now let's just make it a bit brighter. I might take some pink and some white. Okay, and I'm just going to make it that bit brighter just around here. So this is generally how I would paint my reflections in water. Now this is kind of one of the ways I would do it. The other way I would do it is pull everything down and then soften across it. That's another nice way of doing it. But it's kind of, it's up to yourself, whichever way you like to do it, you do it that way. But this is just how I kind of do my reflections from time to time. And it's just a different way of doing it, that's all. Now I'm going to move on to my knife. Let me see, yes, here it is. Lovely palette knife here. And I'm going to go in and put some nice highlights on this water. So some white, a little touch of the phaylo, and some magenta. And I only have very small amounts of this now, guys. So let's just put a little hint of some ripples over here by the riverbank. And you can see already now how it's really kind of starting to glisten in the light. Okay. And I'm just letting the knife drag across the canvas. Allow the canvas to pull that off. Let's go again. Put a little bit down here, I think. So you see, it's just that easy. It really, really is. No. So let's stop that now for a moment. And I'm going to soften some of that. Just a little. There we go. And we have a nice little river with some reflections. We will put in our fisherman, I think, and then we can kind of do a bit more on the reflection after that. So I think let's take, let's see now what kind of a brush we could use for this. I suppose it doesn't really matter, does it? Let's go for the round. Yes, we'll take the round brush for this, give it a clean out, and I'm going to take some Naples yellow with some cadmium yellow and some white. Give those a little mix. And let's put in this guy now, okay? So, we'll come up over here, slightly I think, so we'll come across like this. And it's mixing on the canvas now with that dark, but that's okay, you can leave it dry if you like. I'm just going to plow ahead with this. So let's come down like this here. Alright. And we'll come right down now. Let me see now. Put some more Naples yellow on him just here. And his arm kind of comes out. Come down like this. And you can see now it's mixing with the black underneath, which is not very good. You can, I would say to leave this dry first. But I just want to show you, so I'm going ahead with this. Okay. I really just want to show you how to get this fisherman in. So now let's brighten that. There we go. And it's going to be slightly darker on the other side, so let's take some burnt umber with burnt sienna. Let's darken it down slightly here. This arm is tucked away underneath in front of him there. So let's do that. And let's see now, let's go to a small brush. And I'm going to take a little black, put some black in under here. You see? So I'm creating the shadow from his arm there. And let's put a little shadow here and there on this arm. And it's going to get slightly darker as well down around this side here. Now it's kind of a cool shadow, but I'm just going to make it warmer just for now. And we have black straps then, don't we? Very dark straps. This is fishing gear. So it comes around like this, don't it? And up over the shoulders. Okay. And we have this kind of a bag then down at the end. I'm going to put that in with some phaylo blue and some black. So this is his little bag that he's carrying around with him. And there'll be a little light on that. You can see. So it's just basically going along now doing this, putting in little highlights here and there. And you know, just having fun with it really. And let's put in his little legs. Now he's going to be just kind of almost disappearing into the water, I think, with this. So I'm just going to put it down in brown and it's going to just disappear. Because he's standing in deep water obviously, so it's just going to disappear into the water like so. There'll be a little bit more of his jacket showing underneath here. Okay, I mean, probably have to make him a little wider, but sure, look, you know, you can, it is all just an impression, that's all it is. Isn't that right? And a little bit of light just on his trousers, just here. And now his head. Let's give him some nice warm coloured hair, shall we? So let's take some burnt umber and burnt sienna. Put some nice warm hair up there. Okay, and it's going to get slightly lighter as it turns, and the light is hitting his hair, you see? Just a little. And it's got very dark on the dark side, yes? So very dark here. You see? And we better suggest one of his ears, because it's showing on the photograph and I don't want people saying, well, you missed his ear. So there we are, that's his ear. And what else have we got, guys? Let's put a bit of a glove on him. Let's give him a bit, he's kind of a glove. He's wearing a glove or something, isn't he? Yep. Okay. And now what I'm going to do down here is I'm just going to put some white, or not white, maybe some kind of a light blue just around him where the water was kind of rippling. And what I want to do as well also is get some reflection in there. So I'm just taking some Naples yellow with some burnt sienna, and I'm just going to put a hint of a reflection in there, okay? Let's make it a bit darker. Let's take some dark brown here. And we have a black reflection for black and blue for the bag. You see? And then what I'm going to do is take some white with a little phaylo blue and put a few ripples just around where he's standing in the water. So the water is flowing around him, you see, creating some ripples. So it's a very kind of a fun painting to try at home. And it's great practice. Okay. So I'm just going to put some shadows just here and there on the back of his jumper, and then I'm going to get some highlights. I'm going to take some cadmium yellow with some white, nice bright highlight, and I'm going to just fill in his arm a little bit more with that. And I'm going to come across just here and there as well. You see? And let's just sharpen his bag just a little. And I can see he has kind of little bits and bobs in his backpack. And I know it's slightly higher up on the photograph, but we can make it higher. That's easy to do, isn't it? You see, and then just make his legs a bit darker under here. Oh, you see. So guys, just a fishing rod, and I'm just going to use this pointy brush again for that. And let me just take some white with a touch of cobalt, I think, for that. Might make it stand out a bit more. And get your brush to a very fine point. And let's get our hands nice and steady here now, yes? So we have his fishing rod, comes out like so. And there's a bit of a bend in it, isn't there? Because it's a fly fishing rod and they're quite bendy, aren't they? Then we have the fishing line, which kind of curves around here, don't it? And it kind of curves right up into the air. And then it curves again. Now I'm just going to suggest it's curving back down into the water, okay? You see? Yeah, there we go. And that's quite nice, isn't it? Let me just put a little bit more here. That's it. And I'm going to put a little dark just towards the end of the fishing rod here. So there's a fishing reel and all that kind of stuff there. And I think, guys, we are not too bad at the moment. We have one little corner down here which we must finish. So I'm going to finish that. Let's take the small flat brush here we have and get some dark green in there. So some cadmium yellow, some black, and a touch of cobalt blue. And let's just cover this here with dark, very, very dark green. Okay, like so. We can put even more dark colour in just in the corner. And with that, let's take our fan brush and I'm going to go into that yellow with a little burnt sienna, and I'm going to start putting in some little grasses and leaves and things like that just along the front. Okay, and then let's take some cadmium yellow with some white, and I'm going to put in one or two little flicks up here and there. Okay, just to suggest little grasses and things like that. We can take our pointy brush as well if you want and put in some suggestions of little leaves and things like that, you know, just for a little bit more detail. Again, you don't really have to, but you can if you want. So guys, I think, you know, we're looking pretty good so far. I might just put some darks in on the tree here and there. There's a nice shadowy area just up there. Okay, and you can kind of keep working away, doing little bits and pieces here and there. But in general, I just wanted to show you this type of a painting. It's just one for you to practice at home, practicing reflections, and just keep it simple. Just try not to go into too much detail and too much thought with it. Just separate it into little sections and just look at the colours that are on the photograph and just put the colours where you see them and then soften them all together. Okay, so I'm going to take my camera off. Now I will probably keep tipping away with this, just tidying up little areas, possibly adding more into the reflection, but in general it's a nice subtle painting. You can darken, I will probably darken some of these reflections here, and I will probably bring in some darker, maybe darker blues into this side as well. But I think it didn't turn out too bad at all, did it? Okay, so guys, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got a bit of pleasure from that. I will see you very soon. I'm thinking about what to paint for you next, so give me some suggestions. I was going to do maybe a 3 or 4 part landscape, something around Cork City here, maybe do a little bit every week, something like that. So I will see you very soon. Thank you very much for your support. Again, I really appreciate it. You're being too kind. So I will see you very soon. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it, and God bless. See you guys.